This is Business Week Armenia, ＳիվիլNeթ's weekly economic digest. Here's what's making news in Armenia this week. Armenia's sole aluminum foil manufacturer has named a new general director, as the plant continues to operate at a loss following a string of Western punitive measures on its Russian parent company. Maxim Karamanov will replace Artur Zakharyan as Armenal's CEO, the company confirmed in a press release over the weekend, adding, "As of the first half of 2024, Rusal Armenal remains unprofitable. Taking this into account, a number of scenarios for the enterprise's further operations are under consideration, including applying for state support and subsidies, restructuring, reducing production, and others." Additional details were not made immediately available. Still, observers say Karamonov's appointment is unlikely to stem Armenal's accelerating losses. A subsidiary of the Russian aluminum giant Rusal, Armenal was once Armenia's single biggest exporter to the United States. The company, however, was pushed into the red after being slapped with a number of punitive measures, starting with US sanctions in 2018, followed by US anti-dumping duties and increased EU tariffs in 2021. Most recently in April, the influential London Metal and Chicago Mercantile Exchanges banned trading in Russian metals. From 2022 to 2023, Armenia's aluminum foil exports fell by more than 30% to just more than $87 million, official figures show. The company has not made the scale of its losses public. At a press conference earlier this month marking his 100th day in office, Economy Minister Gevorg Papoyan revealed his agency is in talks to rescue Armenal. "We are doing and we will do everything possible so that an enterprise with such an industrial capacity, so that such an important asset as Armenal, will operate in our country tomorrow and in the future," Papoyan told reporters. He did not comment on growing speculation in the local business community that may involve brokering a deal to spin off Armenal from Rusal. Armenal paid nearly $4.3 million in taxes in Armenia last year, according to official figures, and employs hundreds of people at its flagship factory in suburban Yerevan. Armenia's biggest mine says it is expecting to hit record high production volumes this year, citing technical upgrades and investments in more modern equipment made over the past 12 months. The Zangezur copper molybdenum combine plans to process some 22 million tons of ore this year, Director Raman Hudoli told the state-run Armen Press news agency in an exclusive interview this week. That would allow the company to export about 220,000 tons of copper concentrate and 30,000 tons of molybdenum concentrate to world markets. Hudoli added that will likely push the mine's tax obligations to the Armenian government this year to just above $260 million, which would represent a year-on-year increase of more than 40%. Zangezur is already the single biggest contributor to Armenia's state coffers, accounting for more than 3% of the government's total tax earnings last year. One of the world's top molybdenum producers, it employs some 4,600 people in Armenia's strategically important southernmost Syunik region. Hudoli's announcement of significant expansion plans came despite a move last month by a Cyprus-registered shell company that owns a 12.5% stake in the mine to file a historic $1.2 billion arbitration claim against the Armenian government, which holds its own 21.8% stake in the enterprise. In its filing, Walnut Finance is alleging that the Armenian government undertook a politically motivated campaign to deprive it of its legitimate shareholder rights. The damages the firm is demanding are equal to just under a quarter of the government's total budget last year. Officials have so far not reacted publicly to the biggest lawsuit ever filed against Armenia. Hudoli too did not comment on the development in his interview with Armen Press. Russia's food safety agency has banned more than a dozen Armenian companies from exporting fresh fruits and vegetables to the country, citing excessive pesticide levels, in a move that has raised fears of severe consequences for Armenia's agricultural sector, which employs tens of thousands of people and remains highly dependent on Russia. In a letter dated to July 4th that became public last week, Roselkhoznadzor told Armenia's Food Safety Inspectorate it had detected pesticides in Armenian apples and tomatoes and would temporarily ban 16 unspecified Armenian companies from exporting to Russia. For its part, Armenia's Food Safety Inspectorate confirmed in a press release it was already in talks with Russia on the matter, saying all efforts are being made to resolve the situation. Official figures show Armenia exported fresh fruits and vegetables worth more than $180 million abroad last year, with the vast majority of those exports destined for Russia. The exact market share of the 16 exporters targeted was not immediately clear. The ban comes as relations between Armenia and Russia, its traditional security guarantor and main economic partner, continue to fray, with anger and frustration mounting in Yerevan over what is seen as Moscow's unwillingness or inability to come to Armenia's defense in line with its treaty obligations. Roselkhoznadzor has long stood accused of restricting trade as a means of political retaliation, including against Yerevan. Most recently, the agency raised fears of a potentially devastating trade war when some 1,700 Armenian trucks piled up at the Georgia-Russia border last winter, after Roselkhoznadzor said it had found harmful pests in Armenian agricultural products. That issue was resolved after Armenia called an emergency meeting of the Eurasian Economic Union, a Moscow-led trade bloc. And as always, please follow SivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.